Do you ever get the feeling that big business is controlling your food? Or what about that chocolate that you had last night? Did it do any damage anywhere? What is food anyway? They're really big questions. I'm Tracy Berno, and I'm a professor here at AUT, and my area of expertise is resilient and sustainable food systems, and I'm here to answer your questions about food. Food politics matters. I teach food politics, and a lot of people have asked me, what's food politics? A lot of people think food is just food. Totally wrong. Food is an incredibly complex system. It's about how it's produced, it's about power, who makes decisions about the food that you eat, and it influences every aspect of your life. And something I always tell my students is if you want to control the world, control the food system, because everybody eats. People often ask, what's wrong with the food system? Well, first of all, food is a human right, but unfortunately, the food system that we have now isn't driven by ethics. It's driven by profit. And what this means is that a lot of the food system, agriculture, manufacturing, distribution, land itself, is privatized. And as a result of this, most of the food system sits within multinational corporations, and their remit, their imperative, is profit. It's not about health, it's not about environment, it's not about you. It's about making money. I'll give you an example. 60% of chocolate globally is produced in the Ivory Coast and Ghana. Now, within that, because it's this system that drives profit over ethics and conditions, the imperative is to have the production costs as low as possible so you can maximize the profit. So you're thinking, yeah, the cost of chocolate has gone up and the size of the bar has gone down. But have you ever really thought about how they keep those costs down? Well, in the Ivory Coast in Ghana, they use child labor, and over 1 million children act as slaves in the chocolate industry in absolutely appalling conditions so you can get your cheap chocolate bar for your midnight snack. Are the big companies controlling what we eat? Yes. To a great extent, yes. People think they get to choose what they eat, but in reality, you have minimal sort of choice in terms of what you get to eat. For example, there are 10 massive multinational companies that control almost every processed product in the grocery store, and that gives them immense, immense power. Now, here in New Zealand, we have something that's called a duopoly in the grocery system. It means that we have two large corporates that control the majority of the grocery stores in the country. So once you get to the grocery store, the choice that you have has already been predetermined by these corporates that decide what they're going to buy. And another thing that we should be really worried about in terms of these large nationals, in fact, we should be absolutely outraged, is that there's 4 international companies who control almost every seed that is available for the agricultural industry. And almost everything we eat starts with a seed. So that should be really frightening because, again, as I said before, if you want to control the world, control the food system, and everything starts with the seed. So in essence, we've got corporates controlling our food system. To sort of exacerbate that even further, marketing. Oh, marketing works. When you go into the grocery store, there is nothing left to chance. Where things are positioned, the packages that they come in, the way that things are displayed, the music, all these sorts of things are researched around consumer behavior, and everything in those grocery stores is positioned or placed to separate you from your hard-earned dollars. So there's all kinds of other factors that feed in to how we make our decisions and how much of those decisions are ours. So yes, the big corporates really do control, to a great extent, what we eat. Something we get asked a lot is, why is healthy food so expensive? And that's a really good question. But I'm going to start with the question, what is healthy food? Because this is something that isn't as evident as it should be. For example, the food manufacturing industry really tries to lead us to believe that ultra-processed foods are healthy options. But for the most part, they're not. And the reason that this happens is because there's a lot more money to be made, remember it's a profit-driven industry, by processing food as much as possible, rather than encouraging people to buy an unprocessed primary product. Now, I'll give you an example of this. Potatoes. I can go down to my local grocery store, and I checked online today, for $3.50, I can buy a kilo of potatoes. I can also go down to my local grocery store, and for $3.50, I can buy 150 grams of potato chips. It's a big difference between a kilo of potatoes and 150 grams of ultra-high processed potatoes in a bag. By the mere fact that they're ultra-processed means that all kinds of other people have clipped the ticket and made money along the way, all the way from the people that drive the trucks, the oil producers that the potatoes are fried in, the people who make the bags, the people who make the dyes that go into the bags. Everyone else has made money along the way. Whereas if we're just taking potatoes from a farmer to a wholesaler into a grocery store, you're not seeing that same level of the ability to generate revenue as you do in that ultra-high processed environment. So healthy food isn't ultra-processed food, despite the fact that it tries to lead you to believe that. But also, healthy food sometimes isn't that accessible because you need to have what we call food literacy. You have to have the skills to be able to take those primary non-processed products and then turn them into something that you can eat. And not everyone has those skills. So why are healthy foods so expensive? On the one hand, it's the processing and the profit-driven nature of the industry. On the other hand, it's that convenience that if you buy something that's just a little bit more expensive that's already prepared for you, you don't have to have that food literacy or the time to be able to prepare it yourself. Here's another one. We often get asked, why is it so hard to figure out what's a healthy option by looking at the food labels? And it is confusing. It's not easy to always discern what's a healthy option or not. And unfortunately, particularly in the ultra-processed food area, we have what we call health washing. And basically, what that means is a package, a label, wording on the package that implies that it's a healthy option. But if you don't have that degree of food literacy, you might not be able to realize that it isn't that healthy an option. Food labels require a high degree of food literacy to actually understand what they mean. And actually a couple decades ago, New Zealand and Australia introduced the Healthy Star system, which was meant to help us really navigate these issues around what's a healthy option or not. But even though it was ostensibly designed to help us make better choices, the Healthy Star system is questionable at best. Now, I'll give you an example of this. About 8 years ago or so, Milo ran into some problems. Now, we all know that Milo is a very popular drink in New Zealand and Australia, particularly with children. And on the front of the Milo powder for making the drinks, 4.5 stars. Now, if you're a parent in the shop, that seems like a really healthy option, but incredibly, incredibly misleading, because it was only 4.5 stars if you mixed it with trim milk. On its own, 1.5 stars. So they lost that star rating. Another example, olive oil, which we've been led to believe is a healthy option. Mediterranean diet, for example. It tends to score between 1 to 2 healthy stars, but margarine, an ultra-high processed food, scores up to 5 healthy stars, including one that is made using olive oil. It's really confusing. It's hard when you go into the shop to figure out what's a healthy food. Now, with all of these ultra-processed foods out there and the problems with large-scale agriculture and, these big-ticket items, I'm often asked, is how we eat destroying the planet? Yeah, it is. The agri-food industry is the world's largest industry, and unfortunately, the way in which it's operating at the moment is causing widespread devastation, social devastation, environmental, loss of biodiversity, contributing to climate change, reduction in water quality, all kinds of really negative outcomes in terms of the way that we produce our food. An often controversial question, particularly here in New Zealand, would it be better if we go vegetarian? Is this a way of saving the planet? Well, there's significant research that suggests if we move towards a more plant-based diet, that it is in fact better for the environment and it's better for human health. There is substantive evidence behind that, and we're being encouraged from many platforms and many places to move towards a vegetarian or a plant-based diet. But there's a couple really big impediments in there. First of all, I'd say that some of the things that are being suggested in terms of a plant-based diet aren't much healthier for the planet and people because they're often ultra-processed foods that just don't contain meat or dairy. So that's one issue. But to me, one of the biggest issues involved in this whole idea of people moving towards more plant-based is food's really important to people, and they don't want to be told what to eat. Okay, here's another question. Does it matter that my rubbish bin is full of food I haven't eaten? Yeah, personal food waste is part of the problem, but it's only one dimension when it comes to food waste overall. Now, let's just get this in perspective. On a global scale, we waste 30% of all food that's produced. And it's not just what you've left on your plate. Some of it is wasted at the point of production. Some of it is wasted as part of the processing process. Some of it's wasted in the stores. Some of it's wasted on your plate. So it happens along a continuum. But 30% of all food produced. And it's not just the food. It's the inputs as well. We're talking sunshine, soil, water, labor, your money, wasted. If food waste was a country, it would be the third largest emitter of greenhouse gases after the US and China. Food waste is a major problem. Okay, so have I caught your attention? You probably want to know what you can do about it now. And there are things that you can do. First of all, try not to waste food in the first place. Buy what you need. Now, you understand now, that's easier said than done, because when you go to that grocery store, they're trying to get you to buy as much as possible to drive up their profits. But you take control of the situation and buy what you need. Store your food correctly. Put it in the fridge or put it in the freezer. Keep it away from sunlight, whatever. Store it properly so it lasts longer. Repurpose your leftovers. We're too conditioned to, at the end of a meal, to take a plate and just scrape it away. Be creative and repurpose them. Learn to love all the parts of your food. We've also been conditioned to think of only certain parts of the food as being edible. Those peelings, when I peel the potatoes, toss them in a bit of oil, pop them in the oven, and you've got crispy chips. Your family will absolutely love them. Save the bones from the chicken, make some stock. Use that food over again. Don't let it go to waste. And understand the difference between use-by dates and best-before dates. A use-by date is about food safety. If you eat it after that date, there is a risk that there's toxicity in that food. The best before, it might lose a bit of nutrients. It might not be as tasty or have as good a texture as before, but it's perfectly safe. Don't throw it away. And if you're in a position to do so, compost it. Throwing it away should be the absolute last choice. I hope you found these questions and answers in Food Politics Matters interesting. Thanks a lot for watching, and I hope that you never look at food quite the same way again.